What's going on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Welcome back to some Black Ops 4. We got some league play, playing some hardpoint on Gridlock, and personally this was one of my best games I think ever on this game in league play. End up going 54-17 in this one, so obviously pretty dominant from me. But it was all for nothing as we end up taking the loss in the end of this one. But we played super well, so hope you guys do enjoy that in the background. And today, as you can tell by the title, we got some big stuff to talk about today. And that is this all worth it for OpTic Gaming? So if you guys haven't been keeping, close tabs or haven't really been paying attention to what's been going on with OpTic Gaming, let's just start back with, I think it was a year or two ago now, where OpTic wanted to expand. They basically didn't have the money, so they invested, or I guess got invested by Infinite Esports and Entertainment. It ended up being a terrible situation, which led to a lot of bad, horrible things happening. Then after they tried to right the ship, they end up kind of being like, hey, we need to get out of this, which meant OpTic's parent company is now up for grabs for whoever wants to pay the most money basically for it. Then they get bought by Immortals, the Immortals Gaming Club, or whatever the heck they're called. So Immortals Gaming Club, based of a few different brands and and teams and whatever, such as the LA Valiant, an Overwatch team, as well as a CSGO team, MIBR, along with a couple other brands and everything underneath that. So it was kind of an interesting situation from the start, where they kind of basically said that some teams are going to go away, some teams are not. It all kind of depends on what kind of aligns with the vision of the organization. And some of them didn't, some of them did. Some teams asked to be released because they wanted to kind of go their own way, find a new home, and kind of not be part of this, because they wanted to be part of OpTic Gaming. They didn't want to be part of the Immortals. They didn't want to be part of any of these other brands. They wanted to be an OpTic Gaming member. But with that case, it didn't work out. But that all kind of came to a head when the new Call of Duty franchise league was announced, that you had to have a independent brand like Overwatch, where if you look at who OpTic's Overwatch team was, it was the Houston Outlaws. Obviously Hex was a huge part in their branding, huge part in getting him that, and obviously he was super excited about it, only for it all to be sold to another guy with the name of Lee Zybin, who's a real estate investor or whatever, that now owns that, or is in the process of owning that, or whatever the case is. But it kind of took OpTic and had all their staff, not all of it, but most of their staff released, the legendary members having to leave, such as like Midnight, Hitch, Flamesword, Bose, Maniac, like those types of guys and girls. And it's all, is this worth it? And then we also have the old COD roster, who was kind of, all this was going to be done to keep that roster under the OpTic Gaming brand. And then now it's rumored, and there's been nothing official. There's been a couple tweets saying, hey, I'm a free agent, not really a free agent, but hey, I'm looking for new opportunities, or just opportunities or offers in general. And that's kind of been crappy, because obviously we really liked this team. They weren't, number one all year long, but they came out, won the first tournament, got third place a few times, obviously one really bad placing, and then they got third at Champs. So it just felt like, something was like, okay, maybe they'll end up sticking, but then it sounds like they aren't, so that kind of sucks. But then again, we asked the big question on this entire video: is all of this worth it just to have the OpTic Gaming brand in Call of Duty? Now obviously I want this brand in Call of Duty, that's no question about it. I want all of our old brands back. right? You have the OpTic Gaming, the FaZe Clan, 100 Thieves. Obviously don't have a crazy amount of history, but if you look at who their owner and CEO and whatever the heck his title is, Nadeshot, he was the one that, like, one of the ones that made Call of Duty so big. And like other names like Envious, and like it just goes on and on and on. But is all this worth it? I don't know. Like I said, you're getting rid of all of your legendary members. You're getting rid of all your teams. You know, some of the best teams in the game in other esports, like the Gears of War team. I absolutely loved watching them. Right? They absolutely dominated everything, and they stuck their chest out while doing it. Right? They were the best team in the esport, hands down. Like, I actually started really enjoying Gears of War. Right? I really stopped paying attention to Counter-Strike, so I was like, hey, the Gears of War is doing this whole big thing. Let me go watch this. And they had to get rid of that team. The Halo team, the legendary, probably best Halo team of all time, with Snakebite, Lethal, Royal 2, and Frosty. Now, you know, some of those guys are in different places. Some guys are still playing Halo. I think, obviously, Frosty's over in Call of Duty now. And then, I'm not sure who else I'm forgetting here, but, you know, they either stopped playing or on a different team. So, that sucked. Obviously, they have to get rid of their CSGO team. They had to get rid of, obviously, all their content creators, all of their other teams. You know, it's just, it's so frustrating because, obviously, OpTic Gaming is the gaming brand that we all want, but like, they're just kind of forced to do what they don't want to do in this case. But that kind of leaves you thinking, like, what's the best case scenario in all this? Because, you know, OpTic Gaming is still controlled under Immortals, and, you know, now they're basically just going to be left with Hex and a Call of Duty team. Like, right from where they started. And, I don't know. Like, I want to almost rather just keep everything the OpTic was together and almost rebrand it. I mean, I know I've kind of said, you know, the opposite before, but I don't know. I just don't feel like the way we're going right now as OpTic Gaming is really, you know, the way we want it. And I know that's not under our control, but it's just frustrating. I mean, but you kind of look up and try to look at the best case scenario, and obviously what I'm saying is completely not factual at all. There's, you know, no rumors of this. There's no, you know, kind of anything like this. But, you know, best case scenario in my mind is somehow OpTic, like, leaves Immortals in whatever capacity, either gets released, like the brand gets released, you know, becomes its own brand again, and then Hex has control and becomes that lead brand once again. And then, you know how, like, Immortals owns that, you know, that parent company, you know, owns a couple of brands. If OpTic Gaming could get back to that lead brand and then have, just say, the Houston Outlaws, I know they're sold now, but if they could get back to having, you know, Overwatch team underneath them, then you have a League of Legends spot, you have, you know, your COD team that maybe has its own brand at that point, that has, you know, whatever other esports you want to be a part of. Gears of War, I'd absolutely love OpTic to get back into Gears, but, you know, it kind of doesn't seem like that, since obviously the old Gears team just got picked up by NRG, which is still, you know, a big org, which I'm super happy for them, but, you know, I still want that to be, you know, OpTic Gaming, right? But like I said, you have that parent company being OpTic. That'd be kind of the end goal. And then you could also bring back content creators, because, you know, in my mind, you know, OpTic content was getting really stale for me. And that's only because of, you know, all the creators. I mean, no offense to them, it's just like I didn't really, you know, connect with them as much. Like, I connected more with the esports personalities more than the content creators. So, you know, when Courage was there, obviously I already loved him before, but then he joined OpTic and it was huge. And Hitch, like, I usually didn't really, you know, love his content, but now, like, him and TST are absolutely killing it as far as those guys go. Midnight, I was kind of, you know, pretty kind of burnt out of, like, really stale. Like, Maniac, Bose, those guys, you know, I really didn't care for them. You know, Pterodactyl was fun to watch, but you know, she streamed at the like really like strange times, so it was like really weird to keep track of what she was doing. And then like the other like random people that they expanded with, like Loot the Notable, the Southeast Asia people, like I don't even know if those guys are still part of OpTic. I don't think so, but you know, just kind of get different content creators in there. Obviously now a lot of these guys and girls are, you know, doing different stuff. Like Midnight now is I'm not sure what her title is, over at COD Minnesota, with the Minnesota franchise in Call of Duty. She's over there doing something super special with them, so it almost feels like OpTic kind of, you know, built up all these people, and now they're all off doing amazing things like Nade Shot and, you know, Big Timer and, you know, stuff like that. So obviously I'm super happy for all those guys and girls that are doing everything, you know, great, but bring back OpTic to the way it was, or at least try to make the best out of the situation. But I don't know, that's all I have to say for today. If you guys did enjoy, hit that like button down below. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments sections. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, and you know what you guys would think would go on here with OpTic Gaming and Immortals. And subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, guys, we'll see you next time.